G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Welcome to Gallery Aquatica TV. Today's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV is all about water flow in reef tanks. We're going to have a look at the Wavemakers on my display tank, and we've got an exciting upgrade to show you. So let's start by looking at the dimensions of the display tank. The display tank is 6 feet long by 3 feet wide by 70 centimeters high. It holds around about 1,000 liters, which is approximately 260 gallons. On the display tank, we've got 6 points of water movement. We have 2 Wavemakers down the far end. We've got 2 Wavemakers on the front end. And we also have 2 points at which the return pump feeds into the tank. Now these points where the return pump feeds into the display tank is down the far end on this side and on the other side at the front. So they actually are kind of on diagonal opposites, and they create a fairly good baseline water flow, and the Wavemakers on both ends of the tank create the variation in the water flow. Now on this end with the cupboard, we have an Octopulse on this side and an MP40 on the other side. And the reason why we've got the 2 different ones is just because we've used what we've had in the store at the time when we set this tank up, and both of these Wavemakers are doing great. And the most important thing about these Wavemakers is that they complement the Wavemakers on this end of the tank, on the front of the tank. And the Wavemakers we have on the front of the tank are Gaia style Wavemakers. So we have a Gaia 150 on the end and a Glamorca, I think it's a 40 watt. Now they're pushing water across the surface, and they complement beautifully with the Wavemakers down this end, which push water in a pulsing action down lower in the tank. So it creates a really natural type of water flow that doesn't leave any dead spots in the tank. Let's have a closer look at the Gaia style Wavemakers and the upgrade that we're going to do. So this is the Gaia 150. So it's a 50 watt, the original series, and it's actually quite loud. The other one is a Glamorca, it's a 40 watt, it's also very loud, and when I'm standing right here, I can really hear the buzzing of these Wavemakers. Now that in itself is not so much of a problem, but these are relatively old Wavemakers. They're probably due for a bit of a clean. We've got coralline algae and other algae growing on both of them. But today, what we're going to do instead is to upgrade these Wavemakers. We're going to take these ones out and we're going to replace them with something quite special. So let's have a look at what that is. So this is it, the Max Spec 350 Twin. Let's open it up and have a look at why it's going to be so much better. So here we go, let's open it up. I've always felt that we don't do enough unboxing episodes on Gallery Aquatica TV, so this is a bit exciting. Alright, we have our controller. There's the first pump and its power supply. And here's the second pump. Now, interestingly, with this series, we also get these little visors that are going to sit on top like so, and this is going to allow us to push water flow just under the surface and really give some good, strong, directed flow. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to upgrade the Wavemakers that we've got. So this is excellent. And the other reason is because we have a twin controller. So this controller is going to control both the pumps, which allows us a little bit more versatility with the programming than what we have at the moment with 2 separate units. So now the next part, we have to take off the old Wavemakers so that we can install the new ones. It's a little bit of a mess up here with some of these cables, and this is one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing, having much neater cable management with the new Wavemaker. But first of all, I need to find the power supply and the controller for this Wavemaker, and it's right here. So I'll cut it off and I'll bring it down and we'll have a look at it. So that should have turned it off. Yep, it stopped. So this is the old controller. It's a controller for the old the max spec, I should say. And so this is just a controller. I've still got to take the power supply off, but because the Wavemaker is turned off for now, I can take it out. I'll just remove the magnet. I'll put that in here. So these Wavemakers are going to be reused in the propagation room, and we'll have a tank where they'll be perfect for. However, I really want my display tank to have the best, which is why we're doing the upgrade today. Another zip tie. Kick that out of the bucket. Now I just have to get the power supply. Alright, so now we'll get the old Wavemaker from the other side. So this is the controller for the Glamorca, which is on this side here. A little bit different to the Gaia 150 on this side, but now it's turned off, we can take this Wavemaker out as well. So you can see it's quite heavily covered in coralline. We cleaned this not that long ago, but with the new Gaia, having that visor, it does help to reduce the amount of algae growth you get on the actual cages. Right, and the power supply. So now we have a blank slate that we can put our new Wavemakers on. So I decided against being lazy, and I decided that I should really give this front glass a little bit of a clean with our trusty old blade holders. And with a blade like this coralline, this algae comes off really easily. So probably can do this other side from over here. Alright, now we have a proper blank slate. I've just installed the visors on this 350 single pump, and one of the things we haven't mentioned yet is that you can get anemone guards for these Wavemakers. I'm not going to worry about that today because we don't have any anemones in here, but having an anemone guard is peace of mind if you've got wandering anemones, because they can of course be killed by Wavemakers. Anyway, this is how I want it to sit, just under the surface of the water. I'm going to position it from the inside, and then I'm going to reposition it once I've turned it on to get the perfect position to push water over the reef tank, the reef in my display tank. So probably about here. Visors come off. Fix that again. Alright. So that'll do. I'll put the other side on and then we'll hook it up to the controller. So now the second side. I've just been informed by part of our technical team that these are not called visors. They're in fact called flow directors. So the flow directors are going to sit just under the water, and let me see. You also have to be really careful when you're handling these magnets. They're incredibly strong. This is 12mm thick glass, and the magnets hold really well. So that's pretty close to about right. As I said before, I can slightly modify the position after they've been put in. But first of all, let's turn it on and see how well they push the water. I'm going to start by mounting the controller on the end of the tank. Now, you actually get this little controller mount. So it's very easy. I just put 2 screws in, mount it inside the hood, and then the controller will sit on that and it will mount beautifully. So it is one of the things I love about these Wavemakers. You actually get something to mount the controller. I find it incredible how many Wavemakers and controllers there are out there that don't actually come with something so simple. So I'll start with that and then we'll hook it up. So I'm just going to load the screws. I've made a little bit of a pilot hole with the knife on my Leatherman, and so I'll just push them into the pilot hole, screw them in, mount the power board. Power controller, I should say. Alright, check that out. Okay, now number 2. What I'm doing for some degree of cable management is just running the power cords along this light rail and then down the other side and up and into the controller. And it's not perfect, but it's going to look alright. Getting so close now, all we have to do is put in the power supplies and then we can turn it on. It is interesting to note that whilst these 2 pumps have got a single controller, they do take 2 power supplies. So both of these power supplies are going to connect into the controller, and that's the last step of this installation. So it's time to turn on our new Max Spec 350 twin pumps. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, on. There we go. So this is looking really good. Now, what I'm excited about is the fact that these Wavemakers have only been on for a number of seconds, but already they've lifted so much detritus off the rockwork, the substrate, the corals, and what that says to me is that previously, before these Wavemakers, I really didn't have enough flow in this tank. I think that this is going to fix a lot of problems that I've been having with the display tank, namely problem algae and just slightly less than what I'd like to see in terms of coral growth and colour. The last thing I have to do is program the Wavemaker. There are a number of modes that I can use, including pulse, anti-sync where they go at different times, or synced pulsing where they pulse at the same time. But the last thing I have to do before I do that is I'm going to take the plastic off the magnet so that we can attach the magnet in its permanent position. That just stops the magnet from falling off. It's got a bit of a sticky layer, but I'm just going to get the position perfect. I'll just mark where I want them to be, probably here, and now I'll take them off and position these magnets permanently. I'm going to set these Wavemakers so they have a day and a night program. Now during the day they're both going to be on full pulse 100% at the same time, so they'll be synced, and then at night time, probably around 7 PM, I'm going to have them so they drop back to 50% of power and are on a constant flow. So the idea of having a day and a night cycle is just one other way that we can provide rhythm in the reef tank. Rhythm is so important to all the creatures in your reef tank, the fish, the corals, and so to have a night cycle with your Wavemakers, it really does provide a lot of benefit. So I'll just program those 2 periods now. These max spec 350 twin pumps have only been on the tank for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and already I can see the difference. The water flow was clearly lacking in this tank, and having this strong synced water flow has made all the difference. It's also nice to have a nice neat controller in the hood and to be able to control both Wavemakers with a single controller. So we'll see how the tank responds over the next few weeks, and we'll try and shoot another episode of Gallery Aquatica TV here at Gallery Aquatica in front of the display tank, and I think you'll see the improved coral growth in colour. So that's our video for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing! That's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure you've subscribed to our channel so you don't miss an episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing!